Leaders of a military coup in the West African nation of Mali say that they will enact political transition and fresh elections within a reasonable time. This after Mali's President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita announced his resignation just hours after being detained by armed soldiers. His ousting following months of protest over corruption and economic mismanagement. But while the events have been met with jubilation inside of Mali, they have sparked alarm among international observers.
Gunshots that aren't meant to kill, but to celebrate. This car navigates the jeering crowd. Sitting inside is believed to be the arrested President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita and other officials. And later on in the day, a weary-looking President Keita appeared on state TV. If today it pleased some elements of our armed forces to conclude that it would end their intervention, do I really have a choice? I submit to it, because I do not wish any blood to be shed to keep me in power. The coup leaders also appeared on state television, vowing a transition that would lead to fresh elections. Their takeover started as a mutiny among soldiers at an army base near the capital Bamako. After seizing weapons and taking high-ranking prisoners, they then moved to the president's house, surrounding it and firing gunshots into the air. Crowds of anti-government protesters cheered on as the democratically elected leader was arrested and driven away. We are very happy because this is a liberation for the people of Mali. All of Mali's people were waiting for this day, and we were waiting for the president and his men to allow us to breathe. Today, we don't have any words to express what's in our hearts. Thank God, and may the president and his gang leave us in peace. Mali has been gripped by months of anti-government protests, with many accusing Keita's administration of corruption and incompetence, especially when it came to preventing a jihadist insurgency from the north. While the president's resignation was celebrated by those in the streets, the takeover was roundly condemned by the international community. ECOWAS, a West African regional bloc, pledged to close land and air borders to Mali as a result. It must feel like déjà vu for some. A military coup was launched from the very same army base in 2012, toppling the then president and sending the country into a period of chaos. This time around, the people of Mali will be hoping for a smoother transition of power, but it's still unclear just who that power will be handed to.
And let's get more now on the coup in Mali. I'm joined by my colleague, Tommy Oladipo, joining us from DW Africa. We saw Malians, we saw the images there of them celebrating in the streets. How has this been received by the broader population, would you say?
Well, as mentioned, there have been protests going on for months. Malians have been unhappy with the state of things in the country. And so seeing the fact that the president wasn't giving in despite their months of protests, and all of a sudden he has been pushed away, I think that is why these people have come out. When the soldiers were roaring into the capital, Bamako, crowds came out to cheer them, and that showed some sense that this has been, to some extent, a popular coup locally.
But he was elected just 2 years ago. So, I mean, what happened in the meantime? Why did Malians turn on him? I
think that's what sparked the protests in the first place, the fact that the people felt that the government was not doing what it was supposed to do. They accused it of corruption. They accused it of being generally incompetent in its work. They accused the president of nepotism, appointing his own cronies into government, including his son. And as well, you have to remember, Mali also has this insurgency going on particularly in the central and northern parts of the country. That has not been sorted out as well. And so there has been all this discontent that why is the government not being able to implement these issues? There has been a peace agreement that was signed in 2015 between the government and some of these different rebel movements in other parts of the country. That has not been fully implemented as well. There's a lot of dissatisfaction with the way the government is handling things, and that's why such a rebellion has had the kind of support it has.
We see it pouring out on the streets. We see now the political consequences for the country. So, I mean, this is the second coup in 8 years. What comes next for this country?
That's difficult because we're still in those early stages. Will the military, first of all, be trusted to do what they claim they want to do, which is to force the president out and then have, I don't know, it's not clear exactly what they want, whether another government to come in place or someone of their own choosing. And that's why ECOWAS, the regional body, the West African regional body, has come out and denounced or condemned this coup, because this kind of thing has happened, not just in Mali, but in the region as well. And and ECOWAS would say that military movements like this cannot always be trusted. They're saying the people's voices in form of democracy, not just people's voices on the streets alone, but through a formal democratic process. That's what ECOWAS and Mali's partners abroad are calling for. So there's a lot at stake in terms of Mali's own presidency, in terms of the stability of the country as a whole, in terms of security as well, as I mentioned. That is still shaky. And so there's so many issues hinging on how the country is able to move forward over the next few days.
Everyone waiting with bated breath to see what happens next now in Mali. Tommy Oladipo reporting. Thank you.